Hello and welcome to Pompey Talk in partnership with Giant Leap. I'm your host Jeff Marshman, and joining me on the sofa today to discuss Pompey's trip to Cambridge United is Jordan Cross. Jordan, there's plenty of sort of familiar links between the two teams, not least the manager Sean Derry.
I like the way that in the introduction, Jeff, to illustrate it's Jeff Marshman, you used the point of the finger. That was quite...
To myself?
Yeah.
Well, that was good, yeah. I thought you were going to say I pointed at you, in which case mistaken identity. But
on the game, you have some friends reunited this weekend, Sean Derry. And it was really good, actually, just on Sean Derry, to see the quotes from him ahead of the game. You normally get the same platitudes from away managers. It's going to be a tough game, never easy, etc.
Clichés.
Thanks, Jeff. Clichés. It was nice to hear Sean sort of talking fondly about his time at Pompey. The characters at the club and the quality of the support and the fact that he was sort of used the example of Big Kev as well as one of the stalwarts at Pompey, and said Pompey are in town when you see Big Kev's about, kind of thing. So he clearly looks back fondly on his couple of years at Pompey, 50 odd appearances, and then obviously like things took off with Redknapp and the quality of player went up. But no, it's going on, and 39 years old and trying to make his way in management, and tough baptism down with Cambridge, but they've recruited reasonably over the summer with a couple of old Pompey players, as you said there, James Dunn and Adam McGurk, and after a real tough start, they've picked up. I think it's kind of, they had 4 wins on the bounce, and now they've had a kind of a defeat and a win and a draw. But it makes it tougher for Pompey. You'd have really fancied going there kind of 4 weeks ago, but it's a tougher proposition now than it was then.
Obviously, Pompey's home form at the minute has come into question a little bit with successive defeats against Doncaster and then Notts County at the weekend. But you say they're back on the road. They were good, weren't they, against Plymouth and also Leyton Orient before that, the last couple of away games. So they'll be going to Cambridge with a bit of confidence, you'd imagine, or would that have taken a bit of a tonk?
It's just which Pompey turns up at the moment, isn't it? That's the Pompey's consistency. Is their inconsistency, as Paul Cook references all the, quite rightly at the moment. So if they are clinical and they defend free kicks, which they can't do at the moment, I think it's 6 goals and then a couple that have led to penalties. You just can't have that really at any level. Sunday Park's level, you can't be doing that. Yeah. So they need to eradicate those faults. And just from Carlisle onwards, 23 shots to 2 on the first game of the season. And you keep having it time and time again. Morecambe with 26 shots to 2. And even, last weekend it was sort of 18 shots to 7. It's
not enough anymore, though, is it, for the fans? That, obviously.
No, I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's not. Don't get this, warped at all. That's not good enough to have that amount of play. I'm not, saying that it's a positive, because Pompey having that amount of shots and not being able to convert them is horrific, absolutely horrific. And you will not be anywhere come the end of the season if you can't convert those. And for all the praise, Connor Chaplin will be the first to take criticism. He missed two gilt-edged chances last week. Carl Bennett, absolute, nailed on free header in the second half. You've got to, stick those chances away. It's criminal not to have that. The players don't need telling that as well. They're fully aware. So, in general play, Pompey are playing well. The first half last week was decent. I've heard some contrary reports on that from some fans. For my money, it was a decent first half. Yeah. They lost their way in the second half and almost ran out of ideas. Again, Paul Cook disagreeing with that yesterday, though. He thought it was more down to Notts County breaking up the game. But for my money, they did run out of steam and seemed to get frustrated by the end of it. And they can't afford to do that. But in general margins, they're not far off it. Now it's bridging that gap and taking out the faults, because good players like Christian Burgess can stroll through games far too easily. And he's got the quality to be playing at a high level, and it's almost a lackadaisical air comes into that with players like that, because they're that good at this level. Then you see the faults. Yeah. So it's been a back to basics approach, and hopefully Paul Cook keeps drumming it in, then they can make that leap from being pretenders to genuine title contenders.
Pompey obviously finding now in League Two that the teams have a way that they like to set up against them. Pompey, that they have a blueprint of the way that they play, and Cambridge will know all about that. Not least because, as you mentioned earlier, they've got a couple of old Pompey old boys, haven't they? James Dunn and Adam McGurk, and we obviously caught up with Adam McGurk earlier in the week, and he said some nice stuff about Pompey as well.
Yeah, he's going. He didn't quite hit it off at Pompey after a real promising start.
It'd be interesting to hear your assessment of those two players in terms of what they did at Fratton Park.
Yeah. Girks looked like he was going to really kick on. He kind of impressed in the League Cup, early on, and got a few goals. But then the turn of the year, it just didn't develop. And I think in this calendar year, he's yet to score, and there's kind of been niggling injuries with him, and it's he didn't quite fulfil his potential at Pompey. James Dunn, popular with the fans because he's a kind of identical Pompey player. Really gets stuck in and. Strong in the tackle and a combative type. He went to Cambridge at the end of last season and really filled a void for them. They got the keeper back on loan, Norris, and Dunn, and apparently they were the two keys.
Cook didn't fancy him, though, did he, Dunn?
No, I don't think he had any problems, but he's not his type of player, and everyone's got their type of footballer they do like, and Cook rates people that can pass it and are more comfortable on the ball. Yeah. Now you would look at Michael Doyle as being in a similar vein, but I think Cook probably rates his quality and passing ability better than Dunny. Each to their own, and there's no rights or wrongs to it perhaps. That's
just fairly popular though, wasn't he?
Oh,
James
it's just a
Pompey fans.
Just a typical sort of rugged player that there is a place for him, and there's quite you've seen at Cambridge there are places for players like that at League Two. He's added that sort of gritty edge that they needed. And he's now one of the first names on a team sheet there. So not surprised that someone like Sean Derry fancied a player like Dunn, is it? It's kind of almost in the same image.
Very similar.
So they're contrasting there because McGurk's not really featured too heavily there. He got another injury in pre-season and missed 8 games, but he's come back into it now, and he's hoping that he can be used through the middle more because he sees that as his best position, and he was kind of used wider at Pompey, and that was one of his reasons in his argument why Pompey fans never saw the best of him.
You've got Pompey going into this game as favourites with the bookies. Pompey are 5th in League 2. It's obviously important for them to get a win, to keep the pressure up on the automatic promotion.
Yeah, Paul Cook, as you've seen in the news tomorrow, talking about how the next 10 games will decide where Pompey's seasons goes really, where they will look towards. So it kind of is a defining period because you look at the league, it's 5 points to the top 3 now, and a whopping 11 to Plymouth. 11 points. So if they don't kind of hit a dicky run, they're going to end up kind of almost running away with it.
Like
it looks like Northampton-esque. But look at that at the turn of the year, because they were 5 points clear at the top last season.
Yes.
And then choked, although it is a very different Plymouth side, but they showed that it's within them last season to sort of shoot themselves in the foot. But Pompey need to hit the run that they didn't hit last season. They were showing signs earlier in the campaign of doing that when they got sort of 4 clean sheets in 5, didn't they? And that solidity was there. Pompey will create chances. They will open teams up. You just almost want them to have that kind of League 2-esque sort of doggedness. But that's what they're kind of short of. If they can kind of show that get the basics right really, because they've got the flair. And as I say time and again, if Pompey can just eke their way out of this league, you just kind of think they've got everything in them to go again, because they're almost more suited to playing at a high level, as they've shown in league games, cup games in the past. So they need to look like they're going to go on a run, and that's what Paul Cook's been drumming into the players and really working on hard on the simple things at the moment, because it's the simple things that have been letting them down.
Well, we ask our readers to do this on a weekly basis. Let's ask you to do this now. Put yourself in Paul Cook's shoes. You're picking the team. What sort of...
Just keep going. Is that right?
That's quite nice. Channeling Cook there. What sort of decisions are you making? Where are you looking at changes? What will be running through his head? People are maybe talking about Matt Clark coming back into the team.
Obvious one. Got to be the obvious area, because Pompey are being undone by routine balls. It's not real high calibre deliveries from wide areas and kind of whipped balls in that are, you're giving them kudos to the man putting the ball in for the work in opening up Pompey. In recent games, we've just seen literally a dump ball down the middle from Duffy, free kick last weekend, and it caught players out of position. Real basic stuff. Doncaster, players are getting caught out of position in the centre half position, so you've got to eradicate that. So the one for me to come in and get Burgess back on his favoured right side. He's not comfortable on the left side of the two ball, the looks of things. So Matt Clark could be the obvious choice to come in. Might not be 100% up to speed yet, but you can't really be looking at too many more. I know there's a clean bill of health for Pompey. Drew
Would a right back come into it? Or,
do you want to make two? Do you want to make two changes to a back four, which has not had a settled formula all season? That's been one of the faults in Pompey, not being strong at the back at times, is the fact it's not been particularly settled. David Ford picking up on that issue on the back page today. And there's Gareth Evans has not let anyone down and got stronger in that role at right back as well.
Get the impression from Gareth Evans that he maybe wouldn't like to stay there long term. Is that fair enough?
What gave you that idea? Yeah. He says all the right things. Happy to do a job there for the manager, but he's always at pains to say, I don't see myself there moving forward.
He scored double figures last season, didn't he?
Well, that's right. And Pompey, maybe have missed it, as Paul Cook said. There, that's energy from Gareth Evans on the front foot. I think there might be a little bit of Paul Cook that can see him being converted to a right back. He likes that energy going forward. So there might be a slight difference of opinion there, but it's quite funny when Evans does the interviews and he's kind of like, although eternally polite, he's kind of like, I don't want to stay there. But I think he's going to be staying there this weekend. Yeah. I would say that. I mean, obviously moving forward, Talbot, Buxton and the like. So Ender Stevens back and he'll be left back as well.
Right, let's round this up then. Jolly, I'll ask you to do a prediction. I'll also give mine. Do you want to go first? Or second?
We've been rambling on far too long, Jeff, so I'll keep it short. Although an optimist, and we've got this fantastic record against Cambridge. I think we've won every occasion.
In League Two, every time, last four.
But they're improving. Pompey erratic. I'll go for a draw, 1-1.
1-1 draw. Who's going to score for Pompey?
I always go for a centre half. So now you're going to make me put my bet on tomorrow, aren't you?
Well, this is it.
So otherwise, I won't be happy. I'll stick a tenner on Matt Clark. There you go.
Clark, why not? Oh, hopefully he's in the team then for you.
Yeah, that'd be a start, wouldn't it? Don't do it otherwise.
All right, I'm going to be an optimist. I think I'll go for Pompey to get back on track here. I think they can win this 2-0. Standard Robertson and Chaplin on the score sheet for me.
Who's Robertson?
Roberts and Chaplin.
Roberts and, okay.
Unless they bought someone, Robertson. Get him in, anyone. I don't care who scores as long as Pompey get the win. Right, let's wrap these things up here. So that's been another episode of Pompey Talk here in partnership with Giant Leap. Do join us again next week where we'll be going over the game and looking ahead to next weekend's game. Thank you.